come on. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, and I do have somebody joining me today, it's John Petrolino off of BearingArms.com. I asked John to come on today. I wanted to talk to him about a few stories that have been going on recently. Before we get started with that, I want to tell everybody, if you're watching on the Polite Society podcast page on YouTube or on Facebook, you can get your comments in. John and I will talk about them while we're on the air. Just comment on those live videos. If you don't see if you are anywhere else, try commenting anyway. Sometimes I get the comments, sometimes I don't. If you don't see your comment come up, go over to the Polite Society podcast page, comment again, and I'll get those, and we'll get them up. Let's go ahead and there we go. Then close this down. There we are. And we're already got comments coming in. George says, I like John's studio. We've just spent a panic 5 minutes trying to get John connected, and this is the one way we got it to work.
I tried to log in at the bottom of the hour, so this has been it's been real, but it hasn't been fun. I can tell you that much.
All right. Well, John, let's. What I want to start with off the bat, and it's not really a news story you've written, but it's something you certainly know intimately about, being in the Garden State. What are the state of carry laws in New Jersey as we speak? I know there was a challenge, and the challenge looked like it was going to go great. Then it wasn't going so great. As of right now, if you are one of the people who has a New Jersey concealed carry permit, first, point blank, can you carry in your car?
So if you do not have a permit that's been issued with any restrictions by a judge, right now the carry in the car prohibition is still enjoined. So that did not get stayed by the Third Circuit. So, yes.
Okay. There are a number of places where the Third Circuit overturned the stay. And what are a few of them, and have you run into any places where you can't go because of those, because of the Third Circuit overturning some of the stay?
So the whole thing with the injunction from Judge Baum, and I think you and I spoke about this months ago, that injunction was it was a beautiful injunction. She didn't give us everything that we wanted, but she reversed and held the law at bay while it was being litigated. So now the stay of the injunction, the big thing is this: New Jersey tried to celebrate, as in the Attorney General, the governor, and everyone. And here's the thing: most people can start their day and live their day-to-day normal life, carrying their firearm without running into any issues, or at least not running into any issues beyond the normal going to schools. Like, that's a problem. You'd have to park, off of school property and have the firearm in the car if you were going to go pick up a kid or something like that. But overall, you can still live your life unaffected by this. Places that got stayed that kind of baffle me were the state parks. So carrying in state parks is, again, no longer allowed. Carrying in county, town parks, so that's kind of an issue, especially because we do have a bear and coyote problem in New Jersey. aside from the fact that this is liberty, right? So let's be perfectly honest. All of these areas should be fair game for carry. Period. End of story. Um, One of the places that got reversed were zoos. So if you're going to a zoo, you can't bring your firearm to a zoo. Um, One of the places that did not get reversed, which was kind of funny, was film sets. So the Alec Baldwin provision is still alive, and you can carry a firearm on a film set. So was this a setback, this stay of the injunction? Absolutely, it was a setback, but this was New Jersey begging and pleading to the Third Circuit, please intervene, step in. This is an emergency, no different than gun owners petitioned the federal court for the District of New Jersey saying, hey, this is an emergency, we need you to step in. Well, Judge Baum did step in, and she issued 2 TROs on those 2 cases, one of which is a Second Amendment Foundation case that I need to point out, and the other one is an ANJRPC case, to which she eventually did do that preliminary injunction. So now where we stand now, the case is on the federal level for the District of New Jersey is basically administratively terminated for the time being. So it's off the judge's calendar completely, and there's going to be arguments now on October 25th on the Third Circuit. So this is massively expedited. Like, this is super fast. So those of us that are injured by the fact that portions of this law have been stayed in the injunction, this is fast. October 25th, and I'm going to try to get out there. It's in Philadelphia, so I'll be around, and I'm going to try to get into court so I can report on this a little bit more intimately. What else to note about the carry law here in New Jersey? I think those are the high notes. Medical centers and hospitals and things like that are off limits, and I think that's, you'd have to go back and take a look at the actual injunction and the stay, but you can still carry, and it's a possibility.
The other one that was totally egregious for me is that property owners had to proactively opt into allowing people to carry on their property. I'm assuming that's still gone.
Right, so that did not get stayed. So the injunction on that, and that's the big provision, the car carry and the private property, those 2 provisions did not get stayed. And the 3 judges on the Third Circuit that heard this, 2 of which are hostile to the Second Amendment, like very hostile to the Second Amendment, they still let these provisions stay alive through the injunction. So that's actually, maybe it's a very good sign.
All right, let's. And John is a prolific writer, and I do want, a lot of his stuff shows up on Bearing Arms. I do want to bring up a few of his articles he's had up recently. And I gotta say, man, the headline for the first one I'm gonna bring up just absolutely floored me. New Jersey Attorney General cleans up sloppy work of legislators on ghost guns with an assist from gun owners. What? Somebody, the Attorney General of New Jersey, actually listened to gun owners, and he wasn't immediately fired.
Well, I think that this was one of those circumstances where the Attorney General was approached with a number of scenarios, and one of which would have been embarrassing litigation. This is just my suspicion. So, a number of attorneys that do represent New Jersey gun owners through Association of New Jersey Rifle Pistol Clubs, ANJRPC, did have conversations with the AG, and there was this guidance that was issued by the AG. And here's the thing with and we just put the ghost guns was in quotes, right? So I know that they're not ghost guns, but this is what speaks to the anti-freedom crowd, and that's how they poised all of this regulation was so that we can't make our own firearms out of 80% lowers, or do any 3D printing to create a firearm at home. But the problem is the statute that they wrote basically outlawed all pre-1968 firearms that have no serial numbers, almost all BB guns, almost all imported firearms, and a whole slew of other firearms. So when the rubber met the road and the facts of the matter came out, it's like, listen, you guys sloppily threw this law together. Governor Murphy, with his little crooked grin, just signed it away because it's banning liberties, but nobody really looked at it. And this would have been actually very embarrassing for the governor, the legislature, and the attorney general if they did not step in to send out guidance on this, because they would have been absolutely slaughtered in court if it got there. So I think that perhaps we're giving the attorney general a little bit too much credit in that he's issued this guidance, but I think it was slightly under duress.
So he did the right thing, but not because of his own choosing, is I think where you're going with that.
Right. He did the right thing for the wrong reason, but at this point, who cares, right? A win is a win. So it wasn't out of the goodness of his heart. The Attorney General in New Jersey, he's still a young man, so he could pull himself out of this, but right now the tentacles of the swamp from Governor Murphy are wrapped around him, and he'll probably be able to come and pull himself out of the sorrow. He sinks further into it, but you never know.
Yeah. Let me see here. Next one. This one really, I read into this one a little bit. German-American gun instructor highlights wiki censorship on the right of resistance. Now, this is fascinating. You met up with a gentleman originally from Germany, immigrated to Southern California, and you've been talking with him, but I'm going to try and draw a parallel here. Basically, the wiki in Germany, there's a how am I trying to put this? There's a phrase there where if the government strays from being of, by, and for the people have a right to resist that government. And the German Wikipedia seems to have taken that part out of their website. It would be very similar to in the United States, putting the Wikipedia putting up the Second Amendment as a well-regulated militia being necessary for the right, or the regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, and ends it there.
Correct. And I think this was Article 20. And Matthias, I believe that's the way you pronounce his name. And Matthias, if you're listening, he already knows this. We refer to him colloquially as the German. This is, those of us that know him, we call him the German. That's my doing because I'm really bad with names. And he loves it. He digs it anyhow. Awesome fella. But when we met last year, it was last June, and we were talking, he said, what I don't understand is we have this provision that says we have the right to go against the government, but we don't have the tools to do that. So that's like one portion of it, and then the other portion was he was going on to Gun Owners Radio to do an interview. So now this is like, roughly speaking, a year later, and he and I had chatted back and forth. They said, yes, this is a topic that interests me. And I had a document open for a whole year with notes about this Article 20 on the right to resistance for the Germans. And finally, he's like, I was doing research and the wiki page doesn't even have it. He's like, is this normal that they don't allow you to even edit it? So the page is also locked down. So if you wanted to go in there as a citizen commentator to change the page, to add information, not allowed. There's an angry German statement that I mean, it looks angry because it's in German, and you hit the translate button. It just says, you're not allowed to edit this page, which is absolute insanity.
Especially, I mean, I haven't, I'm not a wiki editor myself. I've never, ever done it. But I do know in the United States you are allowed, there are pages where you're allowed to edit, but then it goes to a separate person who approves or disapproves the edit. They don't even allow that in Germany, huh?
Not on that particular page, and that was the thing that was really frightening to me. Say, if people are going to get a cursory look of some sort of information, and you go up into a search engine, one of the first places that will pop up on almost any knowledge panel would be a Wikipedia page, good, bad, or indifferent. So we're not even talking about Wikipedia and their biases and anything like that, but let's face the facts. Your average American that will jump on a wiki page, they'll get information from a wiki page. Well, in this instance, if you're a German that's looking up information on your own governing documents, this right to resistance is not even included.
Yeah, that. Again, it would be just like taking the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed out of the Second Amendment. That's essentially the way it read to me. Am I close there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect analog right there. Absolutely. And to be honest with you, that whole right to resist, I feel, is almost more robust than even our Second Amendment, because it says you have this right to resist. Now, with the German code of law, or whatever they call their documents there, doesn't have is the right to keep and bear arms. So that's someplace that it should have been. And Matthias, what he had said to me, of course, the United States and their policy and our government influenced them creating their own laws. So he said it would proffer to make sense that, yes, this included the right to keep and bear arms, but it's not explicitly stated.
Well, they have the right to resist, but they don't have the right to arms. Are they going to get blow darts and resist with blow darts? Are they going to use bow and arrow? I mean...
buttons. It's going to be the war of the buttons.
All right. Let's get a few... We're going to get some comments in here real quick. We got check-ins. Sister in Arms, a firearm story, checks in. Says... hello, my friend John. That's Carrie Ann Auclair. And Warsaw Patriots checking in. 2 days in a row for Warsaw Patriot. That's cool. And then going back to Carrie Ann, she says, I like the term tentacles of the swamp. We seem to fight with this all the time with the media. And George Geller over on the YouTube side says, I only edit wiki pages about puppies. So that may be a smart move.
It's actually not that hard. I mean, they have their own markup and language that they want you to use, but you could go in there. I mean, I've done it before. I've created Wikipedia pages for people. It's just Wikipedia is very cultish, and they'll delete you if they think you're trying to, profit by a page.
Sure. One more story I want to get with you about, John, and this one just came out today. YouTuber Guns and Gadgets hits a censorship road bump. Now, I have to be careful because we are on YouTube ourselves, at least for the moment. We are on Facebook, at least for the moment, and I would encourage everybody, go to Rumble. Go to Rumble and subscribe to me there. Because even if Facebook and YouTube decide that I'm too dangerous to allow out in public anymore, Rumble doesn't seem to have that issue. So if I happen to disappear one day, you know where to go looking. But at any rate, this is nothing new for the firearms industry, but Jared's a big deal. And he's had a run-in with YouTube lately. You want to discuss that one a little bit?
So Jared's a friend, right? And I've known Jared for a couple of years now. He's a great guy. It's the Guns It's channel. He's got over 600,000 subscribers, so he's one of the heavy lifters when it comes to Second Amendment media. He's an advocate, and he's a good citizen journalist. And he had two videos that came out recently. One was dealing with Robert Kennedy Jr. and him running in the primaries for president, and the other was dealing with the self-defense situation in Chicago where a teenage child defended their mother against an attacker.
I remember that story.
So the first ding that he got was a copyright complaint on the RFK video, and the RFK video, that portion of that was important was the reporter held his feet to the fire on whether or not he would sign a so-called assault weapons ban. And basically, after the whole full minutia of him saying that he supports the Second Amendment, he doesn't think that banning arms is the way to go. He thinks there's plenty of other issues. He said, well, if the Democrats and the Republicans come together and they pass the bill, I would sign it. So this isn't what the story is about, and I think a whole different story that we could talk about until the sun comes up on whether or not what Kennedy said, if that's a bad thing or a good thing. Obviously, it's a bad thing because he said he would sign it, but his but was if the Republicans and the Democrats come together. Now, does he mean in a more unanimous situation? Does he, so that's a whole different ball of wax. Somebody somewhere complained that Jared used footage under fair use guidelines and hit him with a copyright complaint. So that video got stalled and getting rolled out, and the whole momentum of it was shot. That got rectified, and it's good to go. Then the second video, and this was all within a few days of each other, the second video was the one dealing with the self-defense situation, and what he showed at the time was the argument that ensued between the attacker and the woman, and then it shows the attacker hitting the woman, and then that's it. It didn't show any elements of the self-defense shooting or anything like that, and YouTube demonetized the episode, and they put up an angry statement saying that this isn't suitable for all audiences. And of course Jared appealed. Now the ironic thing about this is, Jared and I were talking about it, we were chatting, then we got on the phone, we spoke for a while about it, and then the next day his appeal came out in his favor, and that's what I wrote about. But what was funny is when they had this trigger warning that the content might not be suitable for all audiences, YouTube still ran ads. So they had no problem running ads on the video that they would profit by. They were just saying, no, Jared, you're not allowed to make any money off of this, which I find to be, actually kind of macabre funny. It's just, really, this is the level that things are at where, no, you can't profit by it, but we will,
Yeah, it's basically stealing his money. I mean, really, if you get 600,000 subscribers, you have an income stream. And by them demonetizing that video, that's I'm not saying they're taking millions of dollars from the guy, because let's be quite frank, they're not. But it is a hit in the pocketbook.
Well, and these were good stories. These weren't little stories. These were important stories, and what it did to him was destroy the full momentum. It took the wind out of his sails. So, you're right. Yeah, is this gonna, throw Jared out onto the streets? Absolutely not. But it still hushed his voice, and he hit a nerve in both of these stories. And whether it was Kennedy's people that were not happy with that information getting, distributed or if it was the news organization. I mean, this is a guy that knows his stuff. He's not stealing anybody's content. He's using it under fair use. He's got no reason to steal content. He's a journalist. I mean, he's a YouTube personality, but he's a news guy.
Sure. And I speaking of that, this article you wrote down in there later in the article, you did write that you happen to think that should JFK or RFK Jr. get the nomination, he would be better than what is in the White House currently. And I would happen to agree with you. I don't think we could get much worse than what is in the White House currently.
Well, we could go into the weeds talking about RFK Jr. for hours why RFK Jr. getting a nomination would be a win-win for us. It just wouldn't be optimal, sure, but it's a hell of a lot better than Sleepy Joe.
Absolutely. I want to get some comments in, and we got to start shutting the show down here real quick. But Warsaw Patriots, we talk about Germany. Look at France right now. There are riots in the streets in France where there are even people with AK-47s and M249 belt-fed machine gun. He follows up with, the French people have had enough with their dictator Macron. God bless the French. If it weren't for France in the Revolutionary War, there wouldn't be a United States. Not a lot of people are aware of that. The French saved our butts big time in 1776.
Yep, between the French Navy coming into position, and there was a lot going on there, right? Lafayette's role in the Revolution, so there was a lot going on, and you're absolutely right. We always joke about saying that if it wasn't for the U.S., the French would be speaking German. Well, I could say if it wasn't for the French, we would still be speaking British.
Yes, not English, British.
That's correct.
Alrighty. Big John 410 says, on YouTube, it will get worse before the 2024 election. Support Rumble, Gunstreamer with memberships. Yeah, John, I think you and I could both heartily endorse that. Get your memberships out to multiple places. If somehow I happen to get kicked off of Facebook or YouTube, I will go find more places to go to. I'm not going away. I just may not be where I'm currently distributed. So, let's, if we could, and I do not know, yes, I do. Just one moment here. I happen to have it doesn't show up real great on green screen, but I've got a copy right here of a really cool book, Decoding Firearms. John, you want to talk about this one for a little bit?
Big thing to put out there. I mean, we ran out of time.
And we're losing John.
I in general and got Did you catch any of that? I think so. So Decoding Firearms, it's a 101 guide to the use of firearms. It's for new gun owners and for those of which to brush up on the mechanics of firearm safety. It's available on Amazon. You can find out more about it on thepenpatriot.com, as well as reach out to me online at thepenpatriot.com. You can email me at john@thepenpatriot.com. I love news tips. If it wasn't for my viewers and listeners and readers, I wouldn't be able to get as much content out as I do.
Very cool. John, your connection is really starting to go south. We're going to go ahead and let you go, man. I'm going to say myself, I am going to wrap it up here. We're almost to the 30-minute mark. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody that has commented, for commenting. Podcast listeners, thank you for listening. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for today. Do come back tomorrow for Legal Friday with Alex Uli. We're going to be talking about a law that was passed, or a city ordinance passed by the city of Indianapolis that bans carry, period, with or without a permit. You are now no longer allowed to carry in the city of Indianapolis, except Indiana law says you can't do that. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Come join us. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.